You know that person who treats every situation like it's slightly funny? The one who cracks a joke when the room feels tense? Who smiles in moments that would leave most people unraveling? Yeah, that's not accidental. And it's definitely not because life has been easy for them. We're not talking about everyday awkward moments or small disappointments. We're talking about experiences that force a person to reprogram how they see people, danger, and survival itself. The kind of stuff that quietly changes the way your nervous system reacts to the world. Picture this. Someone cuts them off in traffic. Most people tense up, feel the anger rise, maybe start composing an internal monologue, but them, they pause. They wonder what kind of day that driver is having, whether something is falling apart behind the scenes, whether urgency is masking pain. Because when you've lived through your own disasters, other people's chaos feels manageable, familiar, almost predictable. Here's the part nobody really explains. People who've been through too much don't have damaged brains. They have trained ones. Their minds learned how to stay alive under pressure. They adapted to instability, learned patterns, learned anticipation. That kind of training doesn't just disappear when life gets calmer. The danger may be gone, but the system that kept them alive is still running. And something even more interesting happens. These people develop a kind of resilience that looks like emotional immunity. Not immunity to pain, but immunity to being completely destroyed by it. They've already learned that pain doesn't end you, that survival isn't a miracle, it's a skill. You might expect someone like that to be hardened or cynical, cold, shut down. But strangely, that's often not the case. Instead, they become deeply empathetic, almost hyper-aware of other people's emotions. They notice the hesitation in your voice, that laugh that came half a second too late, the smile that didn't reach your eyes. They're fluent in suffering because they've lived in that language. They don't just hear silence, they interpret it. They can tell whether it's heavy, exhausted, guarded, or grieving. They read rooms the way sailors read the sea. While others notice furniture and lighting, they notice emotional pressure, tension, shifts in energy. They feel atmospheres. And out of all that hardship, something unexpectedly beautiful can emerge. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth. Research suggests that a significant portion of people who experience deep trauma don't just return to baseline. They change forward, their priorities sharpen, their relationships deepen, small joys become monumental, a quiet morning, a kind gesture, a sunset that feels overwhelming in the best way. They don't take peace for granted because they know exactly what it costs. But there's another side that rarely gets talked about: hypervigilance. Their nervous system never fully powers down. They scan exits, they sit facing doors, they mentally map every room, they have contingency plans for things that don't need them. It's not fear, it's experience. Their body learned that safety isn't promised, it's temporary. And here's the twist that hurts the most. They minimize their own pain. Constantly. It wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I'm fine. They learned to survive by convincing themselves they could handle it. So admitting that something hurt feels like weakness, like regression, like failure. They don't want pity. They don't want to be defined by what happened, so they carry it quietly. Relationships make this even more complicated. People who've been through too much often swing between extremes. They're either fiercely loyal or emotionally distant, sometimes both at the same time. They'll be there for you without hesitation, but when it comes to expressing their own needs, they vanish behind independence. Because in their history, closeness wasn't always safe. Depending on someone came with consequences. So they learn to need no one, which sounds strong, until you realize how isolating that can be. They crave connection but fear the cost of it. Their body braces when things get serious, even when their heart wants to stay. What most people don't notice is how adaptable these individuals become. Change doesn't scare them the way it scares others. New environments, new roles, sudden upheaval. They've survived worse. Chaos feels familiar. Stability feels uncertain. And the humor, especially the dark humor, that's not cruelty, that's control. Humor is how they take power back from pain. Every joke is a refusal to let suffering have the final word. Laughter becomes armor, a way to breathe inside memories that once felt suffocating. They also develop a fascinating relationship with control. They might obsess over tiny decisions while remaining calm about massive unknowns. Because they've learned the truth early. The big things are often uncontrollable. The small things are where safety lives. So, yes, they'll overthink a coffee order while calmly navigating life-altering uncertainty. They are contradictions, strong yet sensitive, guarded yet giving, realistic yet hopeful. They understand that two opposing truths can exist at the same time, that life can be brutal and beautiful in the same moment. But beneath all of this, there's grief, a quiet one, the grief of the person they used to be, the version that trusted easily, the version that didn't scan rooms or rehearse conversations, the version that didn't feel their chest tighten at uncertainty. They mourn a softness they didn't get to keep, a childhood that felt rushed, a safety that came too late. How do you explain missing a version of yourself you barely remember? How do you grieve a place that only existed inside you? That grief doesn't destroy them, it refines them. It makes them intentional, observant, protective of peace. It teaches them the value of safe people because unsafe ones taught them pain. It teaches them that gentleness is earned. And maybe that's the real psychology here. People who've been through too much don't just survive. They gain a layered understanding of what it means to be human. They know strength isn't never breaking, it's rebuilding, even when some pieces don't fit the same way. Their pain became perception, their survival became wisdom, and without trying to, they became something rare. A lighthouse, not because their life was easy, but because they learned how to navigate darkness. A lighthouse doesn't shine because it's flawless. It shines because it knows the night. So when you meet someone who seems oddly calm in chaos, unusually comfortable with uncertainty, quick to laugh at their own pain, remember this. They've earned that depth, every boundary, every joke, every quiet strength. They went through too much. And somehow, they're still here, still choosing hope. That's not just psychology, that's poetry in motion. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. And if you want to support these deep psychological stories, hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps more than you know. Here are a few more videos I think you'll connect with.